blazing, distant skies, firefight calls. The stakes are high, turn the flame, heroes and spies. Control fire, where strategy lies. Hear the tales, fierce and deep. Victors roar, defeated weep. We blaze away, we don't hold back. Control fire, ready to attack.
Hello and welcome to Controlled Fire, your monthly musings on Mantic's Firefight. I'm Luke.
I'm Sam.
And I'm Mike.
And this time we have an Enforcer review. Yes, that's right, people have been asking for it, so we deliver. Tonight we're going to go through the faction, give an overview of the lore, the background, orders, and all of the units, and then have some sample lists at the end. But before we get into that, let's do some From the Forge. Mike, what have you been up to?
Yeah, not a hell of a lot, unfortunately. I've been doing some other things more around the house and stuff like that, so I haven't done much hobby. Should have been doing the Kings of War slow grow with my Twilight King, but I did about one regiment of Void Walkers, but that's as far as I've kind of got. I do have enough sprues to put some other things together, but and I'm still waiting for 3 more regiments of Void Walkers to come through, so stuff's coming, but I just got to get in there and start gluing it, painting it, basing it, all that stuff.
Super slow grow.
Super slow grow, yes, for me.
I'm also working on the slow grow, so I'm ploughing on with my Abyssal Dwarves. Right now it's a Horde of Decimators and a Hellfane, which will get me to 1,000 points by the end of March. So mine is still ticking along. It's particularly saying it on here, I feel I'm holding myself accountable. I've said I'm going to do it, and now I gotta. So we'll get that done by the end of the month, and then find another 500 points for Abyssal Dwarves to do in April.
Yeah, the end of the month isn't actually that far away, which is a little bit awkward, considering my update is mostly doing my Kings of War slow grow. I did all last month's stuff, but this month I'm falling a bit behind. It's all printed, ready to go. I just have to sort of start batch painting it all.
You paint fast though.
Yeah, once I get going, but I tend to get tied up with the undercoating and the zenithal highlighting and all that sort of stuff with the airbrush. So once I actually get it on the table with the paintbrush, then it tends to go pretty quickly. That's the Kings of War stuff, printing off some things and whatnot for that. But I am doing a little bit of firefight as well, because I'm printing and organising a bit of my plague stuff. So I have a bunch of physical models already, and then I'm printing off a few extra bits and pieces for that, just to tick it along. I have no plans, I have no deadline. I just thought I'd just start to slowly get it onto the table, and if nothing else, I can use it unpainted for playtesting. So that could be cool as well.
How many zombies in your plague list?
I have 120 zombies.
Yeah. That sounds like a Luke list.
Yeah, well, I wrote a list and I called it Rob, because Rob Zombie. So before we jump into the rules and units, Sam, do you want to take us through the lore?
Absolutely. So, who are the Enforcers? Well, the Enforcers' origins come around through Project Ichiban around the time of the Mandrake Rebellion. So we know the Mandrake Rebellion as the time where the Council of Seven rose to power by sort of stoking a whole bunch of marauders to rise up in insurrection, so they could then present a super soldier program to put them down. It actually ran a little bit out of control, and the marauders almost overran in through the third sphere, and they had to blow up a sun in order to stop that rampage. But out of Project Ichiban, they get the Enforcer program. So all of the Enforcers are recruited from those with potential sociopathic tendencies. So often they're raiding prisons and also ex-military in order to find people who are as devoid of conscience as they can find. And then from there, those people are rebuilt from the ground up using nanite technology and conditioning to turn them into the absolute best or worst that humanity can be. They're then armed with the finest the galaxy can buy, so they get armor in from the Star Realm. They have Genling on an exclusive contract. Recoil Industry provides the specialist weaponry, and Dianetic providing their close arms. So that's who the Enforcers are. Why do they fight? They are the implacable will of the Council of Seven. Utterly ruthless, surgical, and efficient, they excise any threats to the GCPS with clinical precision and absolutely assure the Council's power across all the spheres. There's probably 2 notable exceptions to the normal Enforcer strike teams. They are the Black Company, who are tasked with keeping an eye on marauders. The council has learned its lesson from the Mandrake Rebellion and never wants to let any marauder warband grow too large as to potentially threaten the spheres again. Of course, I note in the Epic Warpath lore, they're calling into question the effectiveness of the Black Company, as we are now seeing in Epic Warpath armies of substantial size for the Marauders starting to take to the field. The other notable group are the Long Patrol, and that is a group which continually monitors the borders of the Death Arc in order to make sure that no plague incursions cross across into GCPS space, or any that are quickly contained and potentially dead zoned. That is the Enforcers.
And I think I finally realised why I play Enforcers, because it's utterly devoid of conscience.
Potential sociopathic tendency.
That all struck a chord with me.
So I'll just quickly say that if you're really into or like to learn a lot more about the lore and you want to listen to a podcast rather than the rules, there's another podcast done by another group of individuals called the Mantic Lore Podcast, and it's really good. And they go through all of the Mandrake Rebellion and everything else to do with Project Ichiban as well on that. So give them a try and see how you go.
The Mantic Lore Podcast.
All right, so first up, we're going to go through the faction orders. Mike, do you want to take us through those?
Sure. Okay, so the first one is called Precision Fire. It's a 2-point order. All trademark weapons in the unit gain the marksman keyword and +1 armor piercing. Boosted, so therefore it's 3 points. In addition, all trademark ranged weapons increase their range by 6 inches.
I think it's a good order, I mean, particularly now that we're seeing a lot more trademark weapons post-alignment protocols, so this can see potentially a bit more use. 2 command points for +1 AP and marksman is okay. I will say spending 3 in order to get +6-inch range starts making it very pricey. If we look at other factions' orders, like often they'll have the gain 6-inch at the step 1 command point range. So for Enforcers to do it, they need to be spending heavily to get that extra range.
Yeah, it would have been nice to get the 6-inch increase as the cheaper version, and then the AP or something like that as the more expensive. But it's worth it with the firepower that Enforcers can put out with even just their standard guns that have trademark. It's pretty good to reach out that extra 6 inches, particularly because you can walk forward and get an extra 6 inches and then shoot into their deployment zone on turn 1.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure that's the reason it is structured this way, and that you really do need to be doing a hefty investment for that extra 6 inches.
Sometimes I don't play heavily, we get into the list, we don't normally play heavy command anyway in Enforcers, so I do tend to find that I don't necessarily have the points left over for this particular order. I have definitely other favourites in the list. Prior to alignment protocols, AP was difficult to sort of get, so even getting an extra point of AP can certainly be helpful in the Enforcer list, yes.
I mean, it does take Dominators to AP too. Right?
Yes.
As we'll get to when we start discussing how the Enforcers play, we know they're going to be limited in drops, and they're often going to be limited in the number of commanders they can take. With quite expensive orders across all of these, you're really not going to be triggering too many of them. And I think that's part of the reason you may not always see this one fire, as well as there are some very good shooting auras, which we'll be coming to later, and that may be the other reason you're not seeing this one fired as frequently.
Well, the thing to note about this is, obviously, like I said, the 6-inch range is often while I'll use it, but if you've got the spare points, just getting a +1 AP on those guns is really good. But the thing is, like, it's really good. There might be other orders you're going to use instead, but it doesn't mean that this isn't basically a viable order every single turn, because it is.
If you've got the command to spend on it.
If you've got the command, which, I tend to have enough to do at least a few orders.
All right, so the next order is Go, Go, Go. It's another 2-point order. Any unit without the vehicle keyword, as a long action, the unit may advance, shoot, and advance again in that order.
It's super flexible. I mean, the obvious one you think of with this is the ability to jump out from behind cover or where you had obstructed line of sight, shoot, and then either go back behind it or advance on somewhere else. But you can also be using this to advance, shoot, and then either advance into assault with the unit you just shot or another unit. It's a very flexible order.
Yeah, I mean, you if you really try hard, you can pull off the advance into combat, fight a combat, win it, shoot someone, advance into combat again, and get kind of 3 combats for the price of 1 with this. And so all of what Sam said is obviously spot on. And then considering you don't have many drops, being able to advance, shoot, and then advance onto an objective is really good as well to get 12 inches up the board. That's huge. But even like yeeting jet bikes 24 inches across the field while still being able to shoot is insane.
Yeah, I love using this on my jet bikes for those 2 very reasons. You can hide behind a building or something blocking terrain and jump out, shoot something, jump back behind it again, so they're nice and safe and they've got 10, 20, 30 odd inch range there. Or you can do, as I said, yeet 24 inches up the board and shoot something on the way past, and on a drive-by shooting is on your way there. So I love it. It's a great order. It's one of my favourites.
It was broken when you could use it on bombers.
Oh, man.
That was gross. But yeah, no, it's very good. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it's often the case that orders which give you free actions are some of the best ones, and this is giving you a free advance. And an advance is an excellent action to get for free.
Yep. All right, so we move to the shock-resistant armour. This is only a 1-point order. Any unit without the vehicle keyword, ignore blast and devastating weapons on targeting this unit until the end of the round. Any successful hits only do a maximum of 1 point damage each hit.
Yeah, I actually don't see this played as often as I'd expect. Since all the enforcers are going to have multiple hit points, that devastating is the key word which is going to be of optimum effectiveness against it. And this order, for 1 point, turns that off on a unit. So I am always surprised that I don't see this more. I mean, it's probably also a question of timing, because you'll need to have triggered it on the unit before it's then shot at. You're not able to use it reactively. Someone shoots you with devastating weapons. You're basically putting it on this unit and then effectively dissuading the enemy from targeting them with devastating weapons. Those shots have to go elsewhere. But if you are putting it on units like Nova Shocks, for example, Armor 8, Resilient 1, and you can only do a maximum of 1 point of damage per hit, it takes a very tough unit and makes it nigh unkillable.
Yeah, I mean, interestingly, you can still benefit from another order like Firestorm and then get the shock-resistant armor as well. So that is worth calling out. Look, I don't use it as much. I barely ever use it. The main reason isn't that it's not great, because it is, particularly, like you said, on Nova Shocks, but every unit you have has multiple wounds. So if you put this on someone, it's only 1 unit, they're just going to shoot something else and you've wasted a point. It's very rare that I go, I need this 1 unit in particular to be immune to this for this turn. It's more like, we're exchanging lots of fire and I need to minimize the damage. If I put it on a unit to minimize the damage on that unit, they'll just shoot other stuff.
I guess I'm just thinking for those anvil units like your Peacekeeper Defenders and so on.
Yep, I agree. But again, it comes down generally, I find, to points. And as Luke said, it's good to it's more of a discouraged piece. To be able to put that on something and go, well, if you're going to shoot them, fine, but you're going to have to take a lot of shots. But generally, because of the range of devastating weapons, they can normally just turn around and go, well, I'm going to shoot that instead. So that's the only issue with it. But yes, it's fine for a point.
Also blast as well. I know we keep on saying devastating, but it's also blast.
Yeah. All right, are we ready for anything?
We are ready for anything.
Okay.
The next order is...
We're not ready for Asterian shields.
I would have thought enforcers would have handled the steering shields more better than most people, but anyway.
Not enough dice.
1 point order, ready for anything. At the end of this unit's activation, they can be marked on Overwatch in addition to any other actions performed. Boosted for another point for 2 in total. In addition, the unit is immune to pinning by any means until the end of the round.
I like the first half of the order in that, again, it's a free action. In this case, there's only 1 command point, and the free action is Overwatch. Of course, you do also get a free Overwatch by getting Defensible by going into a building. A lot of Enforcer units also come with Defensible, like your Peacekeeper Defenders and your Enforcer Defenders, so you may not see it so much there. With the second half of the order, you're having to trigger it in advance in order to not be pinned later in the activation. You could always remove it at the end of the turn anyway, so it would really only be that you're expecting to see them get charged, and you're not wanting them to be hit by blaze away or a pinning weapon prior to the charge. I'm not saying it doesn't have uses, but it's a little bit more niche for the pin immunity.
I think it's an underutilized order in the first place, so I would probably rather just the anti-pinning is just rolled into the 1-point order and it's not a boost, that's just what it is. Because like you said, there's plenty of other ways to get defensible, including having it automatically on some of the units or getting it from buildings. I don't really use this more because when you want a charge reaction matters. So usually people are if they're within charge range of your units, they're so hell-bent on doing that immediately that you may as well activate something else that can put out a lot of hurt in advance and just leave the unit that's going to get charged because they've got their controlled fire anyway. So I tend to find, it's the jostling of the activations kind of generally rules this one out for me. Not that it's bad.
I mean, I guess the kind of use, like your optimum use case for this is probably going to be, I'm not on an objective, I walk up onto an objective and I still want to shoot, I shoot, and I can pay for 1 point, put myself on Overwatch, if you want to charge me, I'm going to shoot you again.
When I do use this order, that's exactly when I do it. It's something like take a unit of Pathfinders, then scout up the board, hopefully into terrain. I've now got stealthy and in terrain, and hopefully take a barrage of shooting and then use this order and go, well, if you can try and shoot me and get me off here, or if you're coming into assault, then I'm going to be able to get a charge reaction. So again, it's one of those, it's only a 1-point order realistically, but it makes people think twice about, do I really want to try and get rid of that unit off that objective or not? So... We are the Council expects a 2-point order. As a long action, this unit may perform 2 shoot actions with all of its trademark weapons, but may not re-roll any to hits for any reason. The second shoot action must target a different unit. Non-trademark weapons may not be used during either shoot action.
It's amazing now that Dominators are trademark. It was your operatives who aren't carrying special weapons get to shoot at 2 units, and you don't get to shoot with any of the special weapons that are in there with them. It has uses, but you might have to build for it. But now that you're talking about your peacekeepers don't mind taking a long action to shoot 2 targets with their Dominators. Yeah, so post-alignment protocols, this has risen considerably in value.
Yeah, I think my favourite use for this order is you walk forward with Peacekeeper Defenders on turn 1 and use precision fire to extend the range and get some extra AP. And then turn 2, you sit still and you shoot 2 units.
And then go on Overwatch because you have defensible.
And they've automatically got defensible, yep. So Overwatch straight after that. It's amazing on defenders in particular.
I agree. It's particularly after alignment protocols and the Dominators getting trademark, then this becomes great for all the units that's already been mentioned. Okay, so high velocity ammo, 2-point order. When targeting a unit with the vehicle and or heavy armor keywords, this unit's trademark weapons gain the anti-tank keyword and +1 AP.
This order is the absolute bane of Forgefather players.
Yep.
Just the ability to take your regular small arms and go, I remove your faction special rule. Your faction-wide heavy armor, nearly, gone for 2 command points. And also +1 AP. It also means that almost any squad in the Enforcer army is a genuine threat against vehicles, because you can at any point just drop 2 command points and pin vehicles and go through heavy armor. It's incredible.
Yeah, because most of those units have a lot of dice as well, so yes, you're usually sneaking through a wound. My favourite use for this is on jet bikes, because they can get anywhere, and they get a lot of dice with the Dominators, and it becomes AP2 anti-tank. So a unit of 4, 5, or 6 jet bikes can just put out so many dice, and they can take out tanks, no problem.
Yep, I remember playing a game against Forge Fathers with my Enforcers, and lost my anti-tank stuff, and pretty much this order kept me in the game and helped me win the game in the end, because you just, even Forge Guard are now only armor 5, and they don't have heavy armor anymore, and they just don't be able to stand up against that kind of volume of shots. So yes, it'll help you deal with other heavy armoured vehicles as well sitting on the table. It is one of the other order that's generally I probably use as much with Go is this one, because it gives me an answer to those sorts of big, heavy vehicles on the table.
All right, we're now going to start running through the command options for the Enforcers. Our first command option is the Pathfinder Lieutenant. Armed with a tag pistol and can also change it out for a tag rifle for 5 points. Can have a couple of Pathfinders for friends. He has the normal sort of Enforcer stat line, except only armor 5, but with stealthy. The Pathfinder Lieutenant's order is target acquired, which is a 1-cost instant. It targets any enemy unit. Mark the unit as tagged. Until the end of the round, all shoot actions against this unit made by units with tag pistols or tag rifles get +1 to hit and the weight of fire 1 keyword. What are our thoughts on the Pathfinder Lieutenant?
He's super cheap by himself. Yeah, I got a problem with some of the tag stuff, and we'll get that more to win with later on down the line. In there, I wish it worked on more tag weapons than just the pistols and
the tag pistols and tag rifles.
Tag rifles.
Considering there's now tag cannons.
Precisely. So we'll get to that a bit later on down the line. It's my one gripe about the whole thing is I wish some of those tag weapons weren't even called tag or in the first place, or they were included in this order and every other thing to do with tag in the first place. I have never taken him, and to be honest, kind of we were looking for other things. You mentioned earlier, it's hard to get commanders in your Enforcers at the best of times, and he's only giving you a black dice, and he's pretty cheap. But anyway, fills the gap.
The cheap's like not worth it because he's only, like I said, 1 black die, and unlocks become a problem in Enforcers because it's really, I'm always struggling. I always kind of want that one extra specialist or whatever. So now I just go 2 commanders and you're done, and that's it. That's all you can really afford to take. And this guy at 60 points giving 1 black die is never going to cut it. I think even if you're playing lots of Pathfinders, I still don't really think he's that good.
I mean, he is a bit of a niche pick. If you were to take a lot of Pathfinders, you might consider him, but he's probably not going to be your optimum pick. All right, our next option is the Forward Observer for 75 points. I note that the Forward Observer actually has the exact same stat profile as the Enforcer Captain, in that shoot 4, assault 4, 6 armor, 3 hit points, 3 nerve, height 2, same base, unit strength 1, and pretty well the same keywords in anti-grav, inspiring, small unit 1, and tactician. But he has Tactician double black, as well as the Scout and Stealthy keywords, and is 5 points cheaper. What makes him cheaper? Well, his order is First Strike. It's a 2-cost 12-inch aura. All units. The unit may add 6-inch to any ranged weapon, excluding weapons with the It Burns keyword, when performing a steady aim action. And the Forward Observer is armed with a Genling 45 laser rifle, but can change it out for a sniper rifle. He can also have 2 Pathfinder friends or 2 Pathfinder snipers. What do we think of the Forward Observer?
I actually think he's really good. I can just never fit him in. Particularly if you're going to use them as your snipers. Just give him a sniper rifle and 1 sniper buddy for 2. It's actually reasonable. And like you said, 2 black die compared to an orange is good. Great profile. The order can be very, very handy, particularly on something like Novas. It's just that I need other things from my commanders, and like I said, I can only really take 2 in most lists. He doesn't make the cut just because of the order.
Mm-hmm. We become apparent when we compare lists at the end that he doesn't suit my style of play with the Enforcers, and that's the main reason. Staying static is not what my list does, and that's what this order needs it to do. So that's that's the reason why I don't particularly take him. And again, it comes down to the particular orders, particular commanders that I do need to make that list work.
You're right. I mean, his order does necessitate a static play style in order to get any utility from it. I think it's also difficult that it's a shooting-based aura, and he's in heavy competition in the shooting-based aura stakes. There's an excellent one still to come. So it's not necessarily the Forward Observer is bad. It's just that he's not going to suit all lists, and there is potentially a better option to come. Let's now look at the Enforcer Captain. I've already run through the stat profile. So the Enforcer Captain can be accompanied by operatives or by defenders. He has an orange command die, and the Enforcer Captain's order is For the Council, a 2-cost instant, 15-inch range. It targets all friendly non-vehicle units. The unit can remove a pin marker. What do we think of the Enforcer Captain?
there's another commander we're going to get to, which is pretty much an automatic take, and this is probably the one who competes for the second slot that Luke's kind of was talking about earlier, because I also generally only take 1 to 2. It's mainly for that pinning reaction, because I don't want to be too held down too much and be static too much, and I want to be able to move where I want to go, and being pinned is not going to help on that. So being able to wipe the slate clean, or Wrath of God from my Magic days, is great. Yes, he's one of the people I would generally use.
Yeah, I take this guy every time for the unpin, because in such an elite army where you need everything to be doing work, if they can get a few early pins on and things can't then move or steady aim as they need to or use orders, that's really bad. So this guy just lets you kind of walk forward and remove pins off your entire army with 15-inch aura range. I do wish that it worked on the flyers, because they can't get the headstrong like the Hornets in other factions can, and it basically makes them unusable because you pin them and they can't shoot, and that's awful. If at least an expensive commander could
and a 2-cost order
spend an action and 2 points to unpin it, that doesn't seem overpowered to me. It just makes a unit usable all of a sudden.
I mean, I will say he's very usable in and of himself, but it would make other units.
It would make the flyers usable.
It's also worth calling out that you're both referencing his order, because there's actually not a lot of pin mitigation in Enforcers, which is interesting for such an elite army. It's not like Forge Fathers, where there's Headstrong for days, or Asterians, where you've got Construct or Headstrong everywhere. The Enforcers don't actually have a lot of Headstrong, and so if you are able to pin them, you can actually start stifling their playstyle, and the Enforcer Captain unstifles it.
Yeah, he's a fixer. And I should also say I tend to run 1 Defender as a bodyguard just because it ups his armor by 1 and it's still reasonably cheap to do. If I do really need to get like 3 points to do something else, I will downgrade that to a regular Enforcer operative, but I prefer the Defender because you're not looking to put out shooting dice with this guy, you're looking to tactically get him where you need him for his command. So the 12 inches versus the 18 isn't a big deal.
It's also worth calling out that his order as a pin mitigator is a bit more expensive than what you see in other factions, like Solve It as a Contract in Marauders, or On Your Feet Soldier in GCPS, or Incite the Lair in Veerman, which all have similar effects. His costs 2 instead of 1 because it targets all units. And I think that sort of rolls into the whole Enforcers pay a lot but do a lot, and it has that same sort of feel to it.
It's not just that it's all, it's that it's 15 inches as well. That's huge.
Oh, it's the same range as On Your Feet Soldier. It's just
is that 15 as well?
On Your Feet Soldier only targets 2. And I think Sword as a Contract might be as well.
Effectively a 27-inch range that you can pull off with this.
With his movement?
Yeah, you can double move and then 15 inches. So up to 27 inches away, you can unpin something.
And because it's a 15-inch radius, that's basically when you trigger it, clearing most of the board of pin, just not vehicles.
Yep.
All right, our next commander is the Assault Enforcer Captain. Exactly the same stat block, also an orange die. Can instead take Assault Enforcers and also Enforcer Defenders. There is an error in the Companion at the moment where they are armed with Genlings instead of shotguns, that they are intended to be armed with shotguns as it is in command protocols. His order is Rapid Advance, a 9-inch aura costing 2. It targets all units without the vehicle keyword. The unit may add 3-inch to any advance or sprint action it performs this round.
I don't take him. Spoiler alert, I don't take him Assault Enforcers either. The order is very interesting, and if it was on a different leader, I probably would potentially have another look at it, because as I said, I do like to be mobile with my Enforcers. But generally, I normally go to a different leader that we've got to solve that. So normally it's either the Enforcer Captain or a different leader that we'll get to in a short while, and that's normally my other slot.
In another list, his order would be fantastic.
Yes.
And an orange die as well. A lot of your lists wouldn't mind that too. But for this kind of unit that does sort of movement-based stuff, I think an orange is reasonable by comparison. But just in this list, I just, sure, there's some utility and there's probably some builds that would work around it. But like I keep saying, you need your very few commanders to be doing other things, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. If this order would be absolutely taken in any number of other factions, but he sort of enables a playstyle that enforcers don't have a lot of other support for. I mean, if you're planning on using it to extend your charge ranges, you've got assault enforcers and B&D enforcers, I think, are probably your two main assault options. He doesn't speed up your striders. Obviously, he's also speeding up your advanced moves as well, so that means you can move 9 and shoot with your operatives, which is and 9 and shoot with your peacekeepers. That's not nothing.
If the Nova Shocks were 18-inch range, I would be heavily considering this guy to get them to be able to move 9 and shoot 18. Mm-hmm. But considering they're 24 inches, I'd rather not.
All right, next is the Jet Bike Lieutenant. So he is 90 points. He drops a little bit in assault, but otherwise has the same stat block. 2 black dice for command. Elusive 1, just like jet bikes have, and he can take up to 2 jet bikes with him. His order is Iron Will, which is a 6-inch aura costing 2. It targets all units. The unit gains the Headstrong keyword. So this one will allow you to unpin off vehicles.
Yeah, I'm going to sound like a broken record. I like this guy, I like his order. I think 6 inches could have been more. That's not very far. He
is speed 12, 18. If you need him somewhere.
Yeah, you can get him where he needs to be, but he can't affect a large area. I would consider him if it was a bigger aura, I think. 9 or 12 inches, definitely I would. But 12 I would probably definitely take him, but 9 I'd consider it. But again, I like him. He's got a great order. In any other list, I'd probably be, tripping over to take him. But in this list, I just need to do other things.
This is the other guy that I would take instead of the captain. And normally I do because I do normally use flyers and it gives me an opportunity to try and unpin my flyers. Because we mentioned before, there's not much headstrong in the list and he does give you the opportunity and he's fast enough to keep up with the flyers. Mm-hmm. As Luke said, I would prefer the aura to be bigger than 6 inches. And I'd also prefer to be able to take more than 2 jet bikes with him as well. So rather than Unit 3, to take more like the regular unit. I expect to pay for that. I don't expect it to be free.
Well, you do, because they're 40 points each. Yes. It becomes a very expensive commander that only has a 6-inch aura.
Yeah. But as I said, I would like that. I mean, whether it happens or not is another matter. But I would like it to be able to have more, and I would pay for more because he's semi-expensive at 90.
Even one more, just up to 4, I think would be good. Mm. There's still less than a regular unit can take up to 6.
That would be an expensive unit.
Oh yeah, it is. But it puts in work.
Yes. One of the things we've spoken about with units like this before, where you have Ripper Rainmakers, and you can take the Ripper Warlord with Rainmakers, or you can take the Forge Guard Huskal with the Forge Guard, or you can take a Forge Guard unit. When would you decide to take the Jet Bike LT instead of a unit of Jet Bike, considering they effectively both sit in the same slot? And if you can make the room for a Jet Bike unit, why couldn't you make room for this guy instead?
Because he's significantly more expensive for the same amount of firepower.
So it's not about slots, it's about points?
Yeah, because it's the same slot. Yeah. You can just run this guy instead, but you'd be running a unit of 3 jet bikes instead of a unit of 4. And that's 3 less shoot dice, which is pretty big.
But 2 extra command dice and a headstrong bubble and...
For me, it's flyers. If you're taking flyers, you need to take him. If you're not taking flyers, you can take the captain and take the unpin instead. That's where you draw the line. I know I'll be taking a unit of jet bikes instead of him if you're not taking flyers.
The thing is, we've spoken about how I use jet bikes, and we'll probably speak about that more
I'm sure we will.
when we get to the unit. The whole point of them is to put out a lot of dice. So only being able to take a unit of 3 is not enough for me. Minimum 4 every time.
Our final commander, and the one which has been built up to all this time, is the Peacekeeper Captain. At a whopping 110 points for a model, I say whopping, he's still 50 points cheaper than a Plague Lord. He is Armor 7, Resilient 1, Tactician Green. He can take Peacekeepers as his friends, and they can come with Phase Claws if you want to.
Yeah.
He can take up to 3. Was that a yuck to the face clause?
Yuck to the face clause.
Right. But I think the main reason you're taking him is for this aura, which Luke went into some detail of last episode in our tournament list, but let's unpack it. Firestorm. It's a 12-inch aura costing only 1
point,
which targets all units. The unit gains the Way to Fire 1 and Vicious Shoot keywords. Would you take this guy?
Would you believe I would? For me, anything that says Firestorm in Enforcers is worth it. So last edition, it was the order that you could use on anything to make them just obliterate whatever you feel like. And this time, it is a lot more tempered, but the fact that it can be applied to so many units, it's a case of, do I want to use a different order for a specific reason in my shoot, or do I just want to get to re-roll a die and get vicious?
And re-roll your best die, so you're re-rolling your special weapon.
You get to choose, so it's always the missile launches in the operatives that gets re-rolled if it needs to be. It's great.
Yeah, he's the guy who's first in my list every time. No questions asked. It's just put in there.
No questions asked is an order in another list.
In another faction. But yeah. Yes, particularly again if you are using things like the flyers, and you need those extra. Make sure that Way to Fire 1 and the Vicious Shoots there to try to get those hits through, because God knows if they've got anti-aircraft on the other side, then they're not going to be doing much any other turn. So,
and he's such a magnet, right? Like, I don't run him forward. I keep him back and protected to give the aura out to people, and I only ever give him one buddy, so he's not putting out a lot of hurt. But he is such a magnet, people will throw whatever they can at him to get rid of him because of his order. Meanwhile, your other units that are actually doing all the killing are going to survive because they're not killing them. So, yeah, he's great.
He is such a force multiplier. You do want to shoot him first, because he is enabling so many additional shots through those rerolls.
Yeah, and I used to take him with more buddies, but he's a very expensive unit at that point that you want to keep protected because of his order. So when you're trying to keep him protected, he's not in the optimum place to do work. So I've just taken to giving him one buddy and running him that way, just for a few extra hit points, and that's mostly it.
And so never phase claws then?
No, God no.
That brings us to the end of our command options. Do you want to take us through the troops?
Yes, indeed. So the first troop is a cheeky little favourite of mine, the engineer team, and although he's auxiliary now, unfortunately, and doesn't unlock, he's still worthwhile because he doesn't need to be unlocked and is very cheap. So the standard loadout is a engineer, unfortunately, with a pistol and 2 enforcer operatives. And you can upgrade for 5 points that engineer to have a rifle, which you do every time, for 5 points, which is the frustrating part. And you can give the operative buddies incinerators, but I don't know why you would.
If you wanted to burn something.
Yeah, but they've all got trademark on their weapons, right? So even a unit of 3 of these guys still puts out 6 trademark dice. So they are a definite target for some of the orders.
Yep.
Just a 65-point unit is actually pretty good. Or it could be an 85-point unit because you give it 2 sentry guns, which don't have trademark, unfortunately, but they have a 24-inch shoot range at the same shoot value with 2 dice each. So this one 85-point unit is on shoot 4, putting out 10 dice, 4 of which are at 24 inches. So that's pretty nice.
I agree. If you got 85 spare points, it's a great unit to put on the board. For all the things that Luke just said, it's just a great little unit, and certainly, you can sit it at the back for things like controlled advance and stuff like that. It's great.
Yeah. Considering this is often where enforcers struggle is the number of drops, and just having someone who you don't mind parking on a back objective in controlled advance.
Yeah, well, with 24 inches on the sentry guns as well, I like a unit of 2, with 2 sentry guns to just sit on these backfield objectives for 85 points, and you can still reach out and touch things with the dice. Or a 65 point that can run forward and claim an objective, and if it dies on turn 2, you don't care. Mm-hmm. And, they've got controlled fire just like everyone else on the list, so that's still, potentially 6 die. I think if you're going to run them up to claim an objective, you're probably not doing it with a unit with sentry guns in it, because it's just wasted points at that point. Mm-hmm. But, 6 dice controlled fire is on shoot 4 is going to do all right. Mm-hmm. So we just spoke about the operative buddies on the engineers, and I think it's probably worthwhile skipping forward to operatives to give their profile a bit of a lowdown, because most of the enforcer operative style units, like the assault enforcers, etc., are just variations of this profile. So the operatives come in at 90 points for a unit of 4. They have speed 612, shoot 4, assault 4, armor 6, 2 hit points, which is the big change this edition. Nerve 3 up, which is crazy. You basically never fail a nerve check if you're close to an Inspirer.
Or Headstrong.
Yeah, or Headstrong. Height 2, 25mm base and unit strength 2. So they have advanced training, just like basically everyone in the list. They have anti-grav, like basically everyone on the list, which is fantastic, by the way. And they have controlled fire. So what makes the operatives special is that they have their genlings with 2 dice at 18 inches and trademark, so they can use lots of those orders, and they can have up to 2 special weapons in the unit. Now, this is not capped by the number of models in the unit. You can take 2 special weapons in the base unit of 4, so they don't have that tax that the other factions have. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe it should have been at least something like 5 models at least to get the extra heavy weapon, but it is what it is. So all up, you can take up to 10 in the unit. One of them can be a medic if you'd like, for 10 points, giving just the standard medic stuff, but it's medic self. Then the weapon options that you can take are an incinerator for 5 points, which is a 12-inch it burns. You can take a burst laser for 10 points, which is an 18-inch 4-dice pinning weapon, so basically an HMG. You can take a thermal rifle, which is 12 inches, 1 dice at AP4, so it's that one of those short-range anti-tank devastating weapons, and this one's got targeting systems, which is cool. And so does my favourite, which is the HMX Striker Missiles, which is 36-inch range, 1 die, AP4, anti-tank devastating 2, not D2, devastating 2, targeting systems, or an alternate fire mode of 2 dice, AP1, blast D2, which is quite nice for clearing out troops. And then they also have the fusion gun, which is range 9, AP1, blast D2, +1 with 2 dice. It's terrible, don't ever take it.
I was going to say, I rarely see the fusion gun taken. I mean, let's be honest, I mostly only see the HMX 32s taken.
And sometimes the burst lasers.
Oh, yeah. Yes, although I'm often seeing burst lasers elsewhere. But whereas on the operatives, I'm often seeing the HMX 32, just because they're so versatile. They've got a long range, and they have the option for anti-tank and anti-infantry. It is worth calling out that the incinerators for the enforcers are better than the flamers of other races. They are 3D instead of 2. But that said, because operatives generally prefer to deal with things at arm's length, you're probably not seeing them certainly as frequently as the HMX 32s.
Or further than arm's length, with 36 inches, and benefits from Firestorm quite nicely. With two dice that do a lot of work for those 2 dice.
Yep.
To be able to reroll 1, it's great.
It's hard to look past them.
And then AP4 on the anti-tank one with Vicious is crazy.
I used to take this unit with medics before alignment protocols. When the unit dropped to 4, I'm finding this and I don't buy more, so that's the main thing. And you can't really fit the medic in because now you've only got potentially 2 guys who 2 of them are going to be getting missile launchers, and then you only got 2 other people left. If you make one of those people the medic, then you've got to make a choice between the medic's the first person who's going to go, or you have to use a missile launcher to go. You don't really want to do that either. So maybe if you just decided to take a unit without missile launchers and run them a larger squad, then the medic's probably worth taking. Yeah, I don't take the medic anymore in this unit.
Well, it's worth noting that the medic now has a rifle, not a pistol, so he still shoots like a regular enforcer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. In the unit of 4, you've got the leader, then the 2 missile launchers. If you make one a medic, he's really just giving resilient because he's the first to die.
Yes.
So he's never going to bring someone back. But if you're running 5 or more, I've done that a few times, and he is quite fun.
It also means if you're running that squad, it's a squad where everybody's special. You've got a leader, you've got 2 special weapons and a medic, and there's no regular troopers in that squad.
You get an ability,
anymore.
and you get an ability.
Which sounds very much like enforcers anyway.
But yeah, great unit. This should be the core of your unlocks in the army, I think. You should always have some of them, and it doesn't matter which loadout you're going. If you're just going for trademark weapons, like a bunch of bodies with trademark, they're great. If you're going for 2 HMX missile launchers, they're great. Like, it's just great no matter how you take the unit. The problem with them is they are quite pricey.
Yeah, I will say for when we get through to my list, I've taken mine as units of 4 with medic, which basically turns them into Matsudan. Apparently, I like playing Matsudan even when I'm playing enforcers.
I tend to find that people that play lists, like when they go to another army, they try to make basically the same list that they're making other factions. So we're going to jump back now to the Pathfinders. So they are the same basic profile as operatives, except they get 1 less armor, down to armor 5. And instead they gain Scout and Stealthy for that. And they have tag rifles, although, again, the leader comes with a pistol and you have to pay 2 points.
Not a round number. Luke, how do you feel about this?
Rifles. Oh, dear me. Not a fan. That's just give him a rifle. And if people care about the model not having a rifle, give them a free downgrade to a pistol, please. So they can have one of them get upgraded with a sniper rifle for 10 points, which is pretty cool because, you can pretty reliably put out a wound and pin someone. You can have up to a unit of 5 total Pathfinders, but you can also take a dog for 15 points, which has a burst laser, which is the 18-inch 4-dice pinning gun, which I think is pretty cool for this unit. Mike, you use these guys?
I do. And it's either these or the engineer teams. If I can go, if I can afford to take the Pathfinders instead of the engineer team, then this is what I normally take. But the main difference for me is the fact that the Pathfinders are that much more flexible. I can choose to scope them forward if I want to. They have range 24 if I want to keep them back. Depending upon the terrain on the table and the mission and things like that, I just find that I can always find a use for them, and they're going to be able to do something for me on the table. It's just the flexibility of this unit that really makes me bring it to the table.
Yeah, and they've got tag rifles that you can use with your Pathfinder Lieutenant that you never take. Although if the Lieutenant gave his aura as well to the sniper rifle, then that's starting to look tasty.
Not designation tag. Well, it is a designation tag. I get what you mean.
Yeah, that would be good if that did.
The thing is, with Marksman and Vicious Shoot, they actually don't do too badly, and they're also AP1, so compared to the standard...
They're also one die on shoot instead of the
yes.
sure, you get the extra bonuses on your shooting, but you get you get half the shots.
Yeah, you get half the shots, but you're shooting on 4s re-rolling 1s, and then +1 AP also re-rolling 1s, because they're marksman, vicious. But they also have a 24-inch range instead of the operative's 18. Yeah. So they do play in a slightly different space, but I do agree in terms of raw hitty power that the operatives have it. But I mean, these guys do have flexibility. Also, with their range and their scout move, I mean, you can scout them up in order to do the early objective plays and get some early points on the board. And with 8 hit points behind Stealthy, they'll actually last a little bit longer than you might expect. But also, just with their long range, if you don't need to play the objectives with them, they can redeploy 12 inches in your deployment zone or just slightly out of it in order to start shooting their full 24 inches. And so they can look at their scout move as effectively a redeploy move, which is useful for them.
Yeah, I mean, I play with other units in this army that scout, and I often just redeploy with it. I don't try to get up the board, I just reposition to be in a more advantageous starting position. So next we have the Assault Enforcers, so the unit that Mike hates apparently. So these are, again, the operative profile, but they have shoot 5 instead of shoot 4.
Yeah, for some reason.
Yeah,
they suddenly forgot how to shoot.
For no valid reason, because they're only 12 inches on the shot anyway. It's just not valid. Anyway, instead of the trademark gun at 18 inches, 2 dice, they get a 12-inch trademark pistol with 1 die. So it sucks. And they come with 2 dice AP1 for their wrist blades, but they can be upgraded to Phase Claws for 5 points, and that makes it 3 dice AP1 Elite, which is cool, but they lose their pistol. That sucks anyway. So generally, it's a good call unless you can't afford the points. So they've got the option to instead taking an Energy Gauntlet, which is AP2 with 2 dice, and Seismic. They can take the Incinerator, the Fusion Gun, and the Thermal Rifle as well, but they all suck and I wouldn't do it.
It is worth noting as well with the Assault Enforcers, I've said this a few times, there's a companion error here. You're supposed to be getting 4 Assault Enforcers, and at the moment the companion for 90 points, and at the moment the companion's only giving you 3. I'm sure they're not intended to be 30 points a model.
Yeah, we did talk about that after our Clash review, because I did run them one man down for that tournament without realising I paid for the extra body. Also, interestingly, these guys have countercharge and not controlled fire like everyone else, which makes sense for an assault unit, but it is the inferior charge reaction.
I'm just quickly trying to go through. I think it's one of the only few, if the only unit that's actually shoot 5 in the whole list, and I don't get it.
That makes sense. I take them because they've got the models, and I just like to play with some different things sometimes, because I think they were great last edition. They really did put in work. They're not great, but if you've got them, they're fine. They can project threat in combat. They can do stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think the major thing is when we're seeing all these other Enforcer units, we're seeing units which can slap you off the table, right? As in just sheer Enforcer brutality with the way the operatives shoot or any of the other units we're about to run through. And you don't really see that with the assault of enforcers. They're 2D AP1 with assault 4. And so they'll give a reasonable accounting of themselves in combat. But often when you're looking at enforcer stuff, you're looking for something which is going to absolutely smoke another unit. And that is not really what assault enforcers are going to do.
They do have some play, though, in that the way I usually use them is I run them up into a building and then everyone shoots at them. That's their role. Run into a building, make everyone shoot at you, because if they don't, they are going to come out and they are going to hurt you. So you have to shoot them, and now you're not shooting other things.
If you're putting them in that role, would you give them a medic? Just to give them resilient?
No, because they cost more that way. I don't want them to cost any more.
It is a shame as well, the medic loses his wrist blade. He drops to 1D instead of 2D AP1. So is why I was asking.
All right, and the next we have is the Enforcer Defenders. So these guys are, again, the same profile, but they go up to Armor 7 instead of Armor 6 because they're carrying big shields, which also gives them defensible. They have shotguns at 12 inches, 2 dice with knockback, and they assault with 1 die. You can have up to 8 in a unit and a drone, and there's a few options for the drone. You can take a 12-inch 3 dice pinning shotgun. You can take a mine layer, which is terrible. When you get assaulted, it does some stuff and nobody takes it because it's bad. There's a stealth drone, which gives stealthy, which, you know, is fine. But for 20 points, if it was 10, that would be a lot more desirable. But 20...
you know the marionettes pay 10 for their stealth drone?
Yeah, of course they do. And the command drone, which gives you a black die for 20 points. 25 points, sorry, which is, yuck, why? So I think you use these guys, Mark, don't you?
Yeah, I do like it. I normally chuck them in a Arbiter and just fly them up the board, dropping off an objective and go, come hither if you want to take this objective. It's great. The thing to remember with the shotguns is if you do get assaulted with control fire, you get to nominate the range, which means that you're going to be taking the extra dice. They're 7, so that's generally how I use them. If my OCD potentially kicking in, I don't get why they're a unit of 5 when everything else is unit 4. That's the only thing, I guess. So I would prefer them to be a bit cheaper and have a 4 in there for completeness, I guess, and then be able to buy more people. But yes, I use them. I find them great. People obviously will attempt to shoot them, but if you drop them off, hopefully on an objective that's in terrain, they will last you a fair period of time. So that's generally doing the job for me.
Yeah, I think that's the way to run them in an arbiter to jump on an objective, particularly because you can, like with defensible, they can always get their charge reaction. That's pretty cool. And you can make them immune to, if you really want to, double up on the defensible, but give them immune to pinning so that they can sit in the middle of the field. It's not the worst thing. There are other things you probably want to do with it. I would like to do that strategy. I just haven't. I've only painted the one as the bodyguard for the commander. The others just aren't painted yet, but I do intend to play them like that.
That combination of defensible, controlled fire, knockback. What more could you want? That's brilliant.
18-inch range.
Stealthy would be nice.
I could want that.
Which is the only reason you go for the drone, but the drone's currently more expensive.
Well, no, I mean, I'd be looking at the Accutech drone, the one that gives them a 12-inch 3D pinning weapon. 12 inches already their threat range, and that means as well as popping out with all of these knockback shots, they'll also be pinning, and they'll be pinning when someone charges them. And so that means anyone who charges them will cop the -1 in combat. You're wanting to take that Accutech shotgun drone.
The thing is,
which makes it a squad of 5 and a drone in an arbiter, which is a perfect fit.
On the other side of the coin is generally people won't want to charge into that unit to be shooting in there, and if you can give them stealthy to make them even harder to get rid off the objective, that's generally because people don't want to go into that range of 6 inches for the shotguns to be charging in, so they tend to shoot at them. So if you've got extra cover for shooting, like you're in cover and you've got stealthy and your armor 7...
Although we were saying that obviously the marionettes get stealthy cheaper, they are armor 5, 1 hit point. I think 20 points for stealthy on an armor 7... There's 10 hit points in this unit with the 5 of them. It's steep, but it's probably fair.
Yeah, but I mean, you're also...
Points, you can get another guy and have 2 more wounds and another 3 shots. It's like...
You're just never taking it because if you're taking a drone, you're taking the shotgun, I think. That's just the given. Like you said, the range being the same as the other guns. If they're effective with their other guns, they're effective with the shotgun. Thankfully, now the Arbiter's up to 6, which was necessary, particularly because you can't fit if they kept it at 5, you wouldn't be able to keep peacekeepers in it because they
Or
went up
only
to
2.
Well, no, but you can't anymore. You can't do 2 anymore.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it had to go up to 6, which is good.
Well, shall we chat on the Peacekeepers? I think they're next.
Yes, they are next. Let's do that. So for 130 points now, you get 3 peacekeepers. So they're no longer the 90-point
Cheap unlock.
cheap unlock in the army. This elite unit is now elite. Would you believe? So they have the same profile as the operatives, except they go up to armor 7, and they gain resilient 1 because they've got hefty armor. They have the normal advanced training, anti-grav, controlled fire, but they also get countercharge, which is cool if you take phase claws, which you don't because they're bad. So like I said, they start with 3, and you can go up to having 5 in this unit. Besides the phase claw option, you can also take an incinerator for 5 or a burst laser for 5, which is, pretty 5 points for that's pretty good. And it's also worth mentioning, that the Dominators are 3 dice at 18 inches with AP 1 and trademark, and they assault, this is cool, they assault on 2 dice with AP 2 and seismic, which is nifty. So they're actually pretty good in combat, and they're pretty good at shooting. Great unit.
Worth calling out as well, their phase claws are better than Assault Enforcer's phase claws. They're an extra point of AP.
Yeah, but you don't take them anyway.
Because you lose the gun, and that's
You lose the gun.
for an extra, 1 dice and 1 extra AP, is it?
It costs 0 points to make the upgrade.
Yeah, I mean, like a 130-point assault unit, it's rivaling a similar pointed assault unit that you might take from one of the other 2 options. Yeah. It's just not how you would generally run peacekeepers.
I'd rather get the flexibility of either being able to shoot or punch things reasonably well anyway without going over the top.
But you gain 1 die in elite, but you just over the seismic. Like you lose seismic and you gain an extra 1 assault die.
And re-roll ones, yeah.
Which is good, yeah, but worth dropping an 18-inch 3 dice AP1 trademark gun? Nah.
But what are you using your Peacekeepers for?
So I really do like 3 in an Arbiter as well as an option because you can plonk them out as a really resilient, hard-to-shift unit that puts out hurt and people have to deal with. I used to use a lot more Peacekeepers. I just don't anymore because I want to be taking operatives because they're incredible. And then they're too expensive now to take as cheap units like I do with the engineer teams. And I'm generally running Peacekeepers as defenders if I'm taking them anyway. So just for me personally, I don't really usually play them anymore. But that doesn't mean they're not a great unit.
It's like they're stuck in the middle of a triangle of 3 other options.
Yeah. You could conceivably do all Peacekeeper army now. And it would work. It would just be so few drops. It would be about a 9 or 10 drop army.
It'd slap, though.
Oh, yeah. And be very hard to shift. But then you don't have many units. So you start to get pinned and that's painful times. And yeah. But, you can actually do a Peacekeeper army.
It's one of the standard units is I always have at least 1 unit of Peacekeepers in the force because it gives you the AP, they got range, they can fight, they like my Forge Guard when I'm not playing Forge Fathers.
Yeah, there you go.
Without the heavy armour, that's the only thing, which that does mean that they get to move 6 instead of 5. So yes, it fits that void in my list and makes me happy.
Except they can't take the insane array of special weapons that Forge Guard can have.
They get 2.
No, they go to Nova Shocks.
And for the Peacekeepers, I imagine the Incinerator has a place if you're doing the Arbiter drop one, or are you looking at the Burst Laser to pin?
If I'm running a unit of 3 in an Arbiter, they're taking the Burst Laser. If I'm running a unit of 4, they're not taking the Burst Laser because you want to maximise trademark.
Mm-hmm. And not the Incinerator?
No, never.
Even though it's a 3D burst?
Nah, never.
Okay.
They already shoot on 4s. Like, you're just hoping to activate them occasionally, which, never happens. I've never done that with an Ipper. It just never happens. So, no. All right. And the last troop we have is Breach and Eradicate Enforcers, which I have a unit, and I keep forgetting I have a unit painted. I have for 3 or 4 years, and I just never run them, and I don't know why I don't run them, because I quite like them. Anyway, so standard operative profile.
Next list, Luke.
Yeah. Standard operative profile, but they, on top of their controlled fire, they also gain countercharge because they are an assault unit, but they keep the controlled fire, which is cool.
Oh, neat. They're also shoot 4, which the Assault Enforcers aren't.
Yes, that's a good point. But these are a unit of 5 always for 130 points. But what does that get you? Well, you can take a thermal rifle, which is the 12-inch 1-die AP4 anti-tank devastating T2 targeting systems gun, which, is fine because he doesn't lose his assault when he does that. So definitely worth thinking about for 10 points. pretty decent. Or the fusion gun, which is the 9-inch. Don't bother because it does some blast and some stuff, but it's only 9 inches and who cares. Their melee attack is assault 1 die, which, it would be nice if it was more, but it's AP4, anti-tank, devastating D2 +1. So if you're getting them into a tank or something, the tank is going away. Do you guys run this?
Well, I don't play Enforcers, but I do. But I do run Ranger Tank Hunters in my GCPS.
Yes, you do.
And I have found with my Ranger Tank Hunters that the thermal rifle is a trap. It's probably different with these because Ranger Tank Hunters are a torpedo unit. They will get to hit once, explode, and then die. Whereas these guys can probably hang around for more. So maybe you'll get some more utility out of the thermal rifle. I just know that often, if I'm putting myself in a position where I'm able to shoot with it, I'm then in a position where I'm able to be shot. And I'd much rather be in a position where I'm charging.
Well, I think units like this love getting into a building to project threat. So for me, it's more a move into building, shoot thermal rifle and some pistols, next turn charge out.
So it's also, these guys only have, across the 5 models, 5 attacks.
Yes.
At AP4, devastating D2 +1.
Yeah.
So I guess that they're going to do all right against vehicles where they'll pin them. They might not. Are they going to, if they run out and clamp these onto a tank, are they going to kill it in one round?
They've got a decent chance, but you know what they're going to kill is an aberration or a corruption. I think they can pretty much guarantee a one-shot on those.
Forge guard. There's plenty of units I can think of that you don't have to be using this against the vehicle for to be able to hit. If I was going to take something to do assault, it wouldn't be an assault forces. It'd be the breach and eradicate forces. It wouldn't be going anywhere near the assault unit. I'll be taking the breach B&Es instead.
Would it convince you to take the assault enforcer captain to give them an extra 3-inch range?
Probably.
Interesting.
If I was going to go down that path, I would, yes. These guys can shoot 4. If you took a unit of 5, assault enforcers an extra 20 points, but yes, you lose some attacks, but you get AP4, you get anti-tank, you get devastating. Yep.
And that brings us to the end of our troops. Mike, do you want to take us through the specialists?
All right, so the first unit is the Enforcer Drones. It's a new unit, but it's 55 points for the specialist unit. They don't have an assault value, but they shoot just as well as any other Enforcer. They only have an armor of 5, but they still have two hit points each. And it comes with 2 drones. Standard one is the shotguns again. And you can get 2 more if you wanted to, but it's for 25 points each. I'm not sure if that's what you want to be able to do for these guys. But a similar thing, they can swap for the stealth drone for free, or the mine layer drone for free, or the command drone for free, with the same as what was mentioned earlier on for the other drones.
The problem is it's not quite for free. It's losing your gun.
Right. You lose a shotgun.
It's a trap. Don't do it.
It's also worth calling out, because they are drones, they have construct, and they're also elusive too, which is how they're avoiding incoming fire.
And evade.
And evade as an assault reaction, which is pretty neat.
But down to nerve 4, but that's okay.
Do you guys run them?
I have a unit of 2, and it walked up behind a building and it sat on an objective all game, never shot, but helped me win the game because it was on an objective.
It's 55 points.
That's exactly why I took it. I thought if I have to run them turn 1 to claim something and then maybe die or something like that, fair be it. The 55 points. The problem is the unlocks. I would love to run a bunch of these units. You just can't unlock them.
I'm glad you can't, because the idea of an enforcer list, which has this this backbone of operatives and then these little flitting drones going around and claiming all the objectives, is terrifying. I mean, I do like, just as a base unit, the idea, obviously 55 points is a steal, but just a 6D worth of pinning and on a construct. So sure, you can't hit the dirt, but you can't be pinned.
Yeah, I've tried so hard to fit 2 units of 2 into some lists, and I just can't do it. Not without giving up too much other stuff.
It feels a little like this fits into the sort of monocycle style unit, and obviously not with the scouting up, but just in the cheap drop to go on an objective and maybe do some stuff.
Yeah, if I've had 15 points free, I'd just go to a unit of monocycles instead. Like I have done that a few times.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't used them. I don't have the models, which is the main reason why I tend not to play anything I don't have models for. I would suspect heavily, though, that I would struggle for the unlocks to be able to get them in.
Yeah.
That's what I just thinking how I normally build a list, I just don't think I'd find space to be able to put them in because of that.
Yeah, like I've got 4 models and I've only ever run 2 because I think once you start adding a third model to a unit, you may as well be playing something else. Like an engineer team with 2, there's sure you don't get the pinning, but I think these are pretty niche, right? So once you start adding drones, now you're looking at other units for those points. So you really want to run them at 2 models, but like I said, you really can't fit 2 units of 2 in. So I've never run the 4 that I've got. I've just only ever run 2.
It's also because they have pinning weapons, and you can't pin more. You don't get extra utility from those extra pinning shots. You only need to hit once, and then you've pinned, and they've done their job.
We'll move on to the monocycles. There's the Pathfinder monocycles, as Luke was mentioned before. So they do scream across the board at 12-18, shoot an assault on 4s. But the big thing is they do come with a 36-inch range sniper rifle with the sniper scope and the targeting systems on that as well. So it gives them an incredible amount of range and basically shooting on 3s from there and picking off models if they choose, or you use them in a different way.
Well, yeah, so I mean, they've also got Scout, which is great, and Evade, which means they can run away. They're quite a cheap unit. I don't usually use them, though, to claim objectives unless there's something way out in the side field that the opponent's not really going for, because they will die pretty easily with Armor 5. I've got 4 of the models, and I used to run bigger units, but at that point, they're fairly pricey, so I tend to just run a unit of 2 for the utility and maybe try and get rid of some special weapons and some units. I think it's worth the stealthy if you have the 10. If you really don't have the 10 points, obviously don't buy it, but it's worth trying to get those 10 points for the stealthy on them as well to keep them alive. They can be targeted with go, 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 but usually not. They're just more
You're paying 2 commands for that shot.
Yeah, they're just an annoyance unit. I would only use that if I really needed to send them 24 inches. But fine unit, better than the sniper unit. If you want sniper rifles, I would take these over them any day.
Okay. See, I look at them and I think of the other motorcycle units, which are 40 points, right? Except, of course, these have double the hit points and they have a gun that's worth a damn. They won't fulfill quite the same role of being, here's my 12-18, I scout somewhere where is out of the way and I'm just going to hold this objective and you're going to have to spend far more than 40 points in order to dislodge me. These have a bit of a different feel, which I think you've described well.
Yeah, I think I've only ever used them once, and basically the same as what Luke sort of said. I was lucky enough in that game where I was able to slide over to one side of the board that was basically being ignored and sit on an objective over there and shoot long distances across the table, just basically hoping for pins, more than anything else.
Or getting rid of special weapons.
Yeah, getting rid of special weapons is the other option. But yeah, they can be rather annoying and they can score you points, 70 points. Sniper team. It comes as a unit of 3. Observer leader only has a laser rifle though, but his buddies has sniper rifles. It would be nice if they all did, but anyhow.
He's too important to snipe.
Apparently.
He is an observer. He will watch as everyone else shoots.
Yeah, okay. So they do have Scout and they have Stealthy, the same sort of thing, but I don't know if you'd be trying to rush 36-inch range weapons up the board, but I guess it does allow you to redeploy, I guess, if you wanted to at the beginning of your turn to take them. Personally, no. I'm a bit like Luke. I want to get more dice, and there's other units in these slots that I want to take to get more dice. I have a sniper in my Pathfinders, and that tends to be enough for me.
Yeah, like if you assume that you're going to add the 10-point upgrade to give stealthy to the motorcycles for the same damage output with sniper rifles only cost 5 points more, and they lose an armor and they lose marksman, but they're so much more versatile in what they can do.
How so?
Just the 12-18 speed is huge, particularly when it comes to like redeploying with scout. They've also got evade, so they can run away if they get charged. The motorcycles, that is, not the standard sniper team. And the sniper team, like once you've killed off 2 guys, he's just a dude with a rifle. He doesn't matter anymore, right? So it's the same number of hit points to make them not be effective anymore.
I guess I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, well, the Pathfinder motorcycles, you're paying 70 points or 80 points if you go into stealthy, so we'll say that, for 4 hit points. and you're getting 6 hit points with the sniper team, but I know you're saying you've kind of eroded your effectiveness by the time you've got there. But they are armor 6 instead of armor 5, but they're slower. Also worth noting, the sniper team has marksman and the Pathfinder motorcycles don't. I don't know. I mean, I think they are slower, but they are better armored. They've still got scout.
Yeah, but what they do is they get somewhere in turn 1 and they sit there for the rest of the game doing nothing other than throwing out shots. Whereas the motorcycles, they move around, they get onto objectives. If you can shoot something off one of their, like an objective on their side of the table, the motorcycles can run and grab it on turn 2, 3, 4. Whereas the sniper team, good luck. You're not getting anywhere. You're going to sit there and you're going to shoot. So they lose a lot of that versatility. And for these cheaper units, like they're not doing enough. I don't think they're really doing enough work solely with the shooting to really be worthwhile taking up a specialist slot, particularly because you can't add more snipers. You can add more motorcycles. So you can have more sniper shots in that unit if you really want. But they can be effective late game with something other than I sit still and shoot.
I think I back Liv with the versatility here. Like if you knew you were playing controlled advance, then you probably might want to take the sniper team because you can just sit on the back objective and shoot from there, and you're probably not going to move from that point. But if you don't know what you're going to play, or you're playing in a tournament and you've got different objectives, the motorcycles to me give you the versatility of each different mission on what they're going to be able to do. I think that both units are fine, but yeah, if I had to choose between those two, I'd be going for motorcycles.
Yeah, that's fair.
But all the next units, that's the problem. That's everything we've mentioned so far in specialists. It's all these next ones that are coming up.
Well, let's talk about them.
The Enforcer jet bikes.
Yeah.
Speed 12, 18, shoot 4. They do assault on 5, so I'll give them benefit of the doubt that they're actually got to control a very screaming vehicle that they can't fight so well. But armor 6, hit points 2. They got the Dominator rifles, which is trademark, of course. Range 18. They're expensive. They're fast. Oh my god, they are so fun. They work with so many great orders. Skype, evade, whatever. They got all the tricks. It's definitely one of the things that's normally taking in slots, unless I'm taking the leader instead and I don't have other slots available.
Yeah, and they've got elusive 1 and evade. It would be nice if they had controlled fire as well, just so you had the option of do I shoot or do I run away. They could be brave jet bikes and stand there and shoot. But anyway, you can take up to 6 jet bikes. So that is up to 18 dice that shoot 4, AP1, trademark. So there are plenty of great orders to use this. They can put out the most Dominator dice of any unit in the list. I think operatives can put out more dice, maybe. No, they can put out at most 16, right? Operatives max out at 8. Yeah, so they can put out the most trademark dice of any unit in the list. And there's 3 fantastic trademark orders. Very expensive at that point cost, as we'll see soon when we get to our lists. They cost 250 points per unit of 6. I personally think that the special weapons are a trap. You can get, for the special weapons, you can get a burst laser or an HMX, which would be fine. It's just that, like I said, you're looking to probably use trademark orders with these guys, so that makes them less effective for that. This is a great unit. For my sample list for this session, I did take them out trying to do something different, and I went, nah, I've got to put them back in. And then I put them back in at 4, and I went, nah, I've got to... The whole theme of my list, I'm like, I've got to put them up to 6. They're great.
Dirty. This unit has benefited so much from alignment protocols and Dominator rifles gaining trademark.
It's the biggest winner in the list, I think.
Yeah, but before they were merely a very good unit. Now they are an excellent unit.
Yes.
I know you guys have got a different favourite to me, but to me this is the best unit in the list after alignment protocols.
Well, I think there's other units, like every other unit that I like. If we take commanders out of the equation, every other unit that I like, if I couldn't take them or didn't feel like taking them, there is something else that I would take that would do the job similarly. This is a unit where I just keep putting it back in every list because it's so versatile. Like, the redeploy 18 inches at the start of the game. Like, nuts. You just put them in the middle of your deployment zone. It doesn't matter where, because they can be wherever you need. And then go pushes them 24 inches. So you can kind of very easily, you can scout forward and then in controlled advance, you can scout forward and then you can move around into their backfield, shoot a unit with go, take them off the objective and then move on and claim it.
Yeah, it's great.
Pathfinder C3M4 combat drone. 90-point unit, still in our specialist, moves 12, 18, shoots 4, armor 6. 5 hit points, which is pretty decent, and a Nova 3. It has advanced training. It is anti-grav instead of a flyer, which is different to most of the rest of the stuff that's in the list. Elusive 2 and vehicle. It comes standard with a tag cannon, which is range 24, 4 dice, AP2, marksman and vicious. A heavy tag rifle, range 18, 2 dice, AP1, also with marksman and vicious. It can take a particle beamer, which has got a 36-inch range, 3 dice, AP3, seismic, weight of fire 2. Or you can take the MRMS turret missiles instead, which is range 24, 3 dice, anti-aircraft, blast D4. Now it does have a special, which I've left till last. It does have the tag sensor array. If this weapon hits, it deals no damage but tags the target unit until the end of the round. All shoot actions against the tagged unit made by the units with tag pistols or tag rifles receive +1 to hit and weight of fire 1. Now that's a 2 dice to be able to get that off, but it's only a range of 12. So that's kind of where things sort of let down. I kind of wish that it didn't have so much tag stuff in it that's not affected by tag. That's number one. I rather they were not named tag because it gets too confusing. You see the question coming up on the boards all the time. Does these tag things come impacted? No. Everything says it's got to be pistols or rifles. So I would prefer that this drone actually tag weapons were actually impacted by that rule, seeing they've got the tag weapons in the first place. But I'd also prefer the tag sensor array to be longer than 12 inches. It's a bit too short to do what it's supposed to do. To me, I kind of think it needs to be potentially reconfigured a bit, maybe shorter weapons, but a bigger sensor array. Yep, I guess if you were playing all Pathfinders, it might be useful, but personally, I have not used this.
Yeah, it's pretty survivable with Elusive 2, 5 hit points, armor 6. That's pretty nice. He's got controlled fire and evade. So
like you want for the bikes.
Yeah, exactly. Control fire on a vehicle is interesting, I guess, but, that's cool. I think the missile turrets option you can get for 15 points sucks, so I wouldn't ever take it. I think the default loadout is okay, but I generally wouldn't want to take it that way. I would be taking it for the particle beamer for 10 points, making it a 100-point anti-grav 12-18 unit that can shoot 36 inches, so we can get where it needs to be. 3 dice at AP3 isn't so bad with seismic, so you can still do work against heavy armor stuff. And AP3 gets through resilient, which is nice, but it's got weight of fire 2, so you're pretty much going to hit with all 3 shots, which is really nice. I think the downsides of the tags not being tags and all that sort of stuff is a fair call. It's kind of gross. But not only the tag sensor array being 12 inches is a problem, it doesn't have targeting systems. So you have to be tagging the thing that you're shooting with your weapon, like your other weapon anyway. That just feels like not the best use of that ability for me, because if you're taking the particle beamer one and you're shooting it like a tank, do you really want to tag the tank so that someone's pistols are slightly better against it? No, you don't want to do that. I think it should have targeting systems on the tag sensor array.
Particularly also because you're looking, the particle beamer is a 36-inch range. What are you doing with a 12-inch range gun?
Exactly.
Yeah. But, I look at the particle beamer and compare it to the Maison beam weapon, which is quite similar. The Maison beam weapon is 4D AP2, but also weight of fire 2 seismic. So it fulfills a kind of similar role. And you're right, you do end up landing most of your hits, except this takes you from AP3 to AP4 against vehicles, which is starting to hit a bit more of a sweet spot. So I like it. I don't mind the idea just of the regular tag cannon. I mean, 4D AP2 marksman vicious, that's not bad. And at what, a 24-inch range?
Yeah, and this guy can benefit from Firestorm, so you can get the vicious on those shots.
He already has vicious.
No, on the
particle
beamer.
Yeah, I mean, it is also worth noting that the tag sensor array, even though it is a straight-up echo of the target acquired order from the Pathfinder LT, can stack with it because it's not an order. And so technically you can be having Pathfinders who hit on 2s before modifiers, re-rolling all 1s and up to 2 more, noting that you can't re-roll a re-roll, but say they're in cover or something. So that's probably slightly excessive, but it is technically possible that you are hitting on 2s, re-rolling 1s with more re-rolls up your sleeve.
And I don't think the Pathfinders themselves have a ton of dice where that be too oppressive either. When I
No,
through my head.
if that's your strategy and you're doubling down on it, like go for it.
Go ahead.
You know, it's not broken. Just do it if you want to.
No,
do it.
but I'm also thinking of the fact that I would be looking at doubling the range of this tag sensor array personally, but anyway.
12 inches is a little short. I mean, particularly because the vehicle itself, I mean, the vehicle is 12-18, so you can move up 12 and shoot 12, but with only armor 6 and 5 hit points, that's what a +1 hit point mule, admittedly with elusive 2. So...
And the leader's always line of sight, like it's... You can go one corner of the board to the opposite corner of the board.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to play with tag, I just think it needs to be a bit more serious in playing with tag. I think it's a cool concept, but it's currently not doing it for me. Peacekeeper Defenders. This is a unit that does things for me. 612, speed 4, assault 4, armor 8. It's still got 2 hit points each. Advanced training, anti-grav, defensible, resilient 1, control fire, and counter charge. Yep, they come with the Dominator rifles. They don't quite have the same assault weaponry that the normal Peacekeepers have, but I'm willing to trade that for the shields and the defensible options on this unit. Luke mentioned earlier, I would basically still chuck them in with one of the Arbiters and drop them off on another location and go move me if you can.
Oh, they're an amazing unit. They're just an unshiftable, unkillable, killy block of objective holding death. I hate them.
Yeah, which is why I love them.
Yeah.
I do run them in almost every list. I don't think I have them. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I didn't put them in my sample list just because I needed drops, but I do run them in almost every list that I do. They're fantastic. And Mike, we've got one more unit left, and it's got a stupid name, so why don't you take us through that?
The Enforcer Heavy Support.
Heavy what?
Support.
In a specialist slot. I hate that so much.
He's saying they should be moved to support.
It gets me every time.
Specialist.
Well, if they were in support, I'd probably be more likely to run them again.
Enforcer Heavy Support, 190 points.
Woo!
So for that, they are one of the units that have actually forgotten how to fight because they carry around a dirty big missile launcher. At least 4 of them do anyway. And you can get your boss guy for 20 points to also take a missile launcher and have 5 of them. I do not know why I like the Defenders. They suddenly got an extra member in their team when everybody else is at 4, but anyhow, that's the way that they actually are in the rulebook at the moment. Again, my OCD would prefer them to potentially be at 4 and a cheaper price point because of that. But yes, the specialist slot, and they will deal out the hurt with those missile launchers, which we covered earlier on. It's exactly the same missile launcher as what the operatives have. Use the striker missiles to take out tanks, or you can use the burst missiles to look at taking out infantry, and they will pour that out. The only downside to it, of course, is the fact that they're not trademark weapons.
Though there is trademark on their leader if you don't buy in the missile. Sorry. These guys have benefited so much from alignment protocols.
No, they haven't.
Well, sorry, let me finish. They have benefited so much from alignment protocols in that before they were purely there in order to nail vehicles or big units, and now they have greater variability. But I'm still seeing them less because operatives can take 2 special weapons in a 4-person squad and can replicate a lot of their function in trip.
And it's
Did I finish exactly what you were going
well, it's spread, and when you do it on the operatives, it spreads it out. So 2 operatives units for 130 points each can take a total of 4 missile launchers, and it spreads it out so you can put it in more places with more lines of attack and less eggs in one basket. And that's a 260 point investment for unlocking units. Whereas this is a 190 point for a unit that has to be unlocked for a similar firepower. But, I mean, they put out hurt. They really lost out with command protocols because they used to be AP forward blast D2 before devastating and all that became in. And the old Firestorm order back then was incredible on these guys. My first activation every game was Enforcer Heavy Support, Firestorm, take off 2 units. Incredible. Not as incredible anymore, and they're just competing in a slot that you really want to do other things. I'd rather make them compete with Nova Shocks and move them to support, and I might actually take them instead of Nova Shocks, like just because I like the unit. I just can't fit them with the other things I want to take.
My eyebrows have gone up into my hair. I could not see these competing with Nova Shocks.
You don't think so?
I mean,
They reach out so far.
I'm aware of how good they are because I've seen them in your operative units.
They'd also have to go down in points to move to support. Please?
I'm going to challenge you on that one. 190 points, 210 points, let's say. 210 points for that.
210, yeah.
Compared to 135 for the Nova Shocks.
It's 155 for the Novas.
All right, 155
yeah.
for the Nova Shocks.
Yeah, I would usually take the Novas. I'm just saying I would consider sometimes taking these guys if they were support.
Yeah.
I just can't take them in specialists because I can't fit them.
Because you're
I'm taking jet bikes.
Let's have a look at our support then.
All right, so the first of our support we might be able to do quite quickly. It's a Strider. It has an extra shoot and an extra assault. It is shoot 4, assault 4. We're used to seeing these as shoot 5, assault 5. But other than that, it has the same weapon loadouts. It can either come standard with the heavy burst laser, it can have the urban assault with the heavy flamer and chainsaw, and it can have the tank buster with the Polaris. But it is the same armor 7, 5 hit points, heavy armor, vehicle walker with controlled fire, shorter rockets upgrade, and you can pay 10 points in order to give it a marksman upgrade. Are you running a Strider?
No, never. Because Nova Shocks exist for starters, force heavy support. If you're going to take him, you're going to take him as an anti-tank, and there's just better options, I think, in the list. Other factions would love to have this as their Strider, I think. But just
my plane would love to have a shoot 4 Strider.
Exactly. So other lists, great. It just doesn't fit in this list for me.
We covered Strider and a few other things. It suffers from the same things as every other list. It's slightly better, but then everything in the Enforcer list is slightly better than everybody else's normal troops as well. It's a great model, but there's other things that are competing way too hard.
Particularly because things like... So I keep saying Nova Shocks just because we are thinking like the Tank Buster version of the Strider, right? And the Nova Shocks play in that space. 135 points, but they're also a scoring unit, and the Strider is a vehicle. It's in a tough place. It's not that it's bad, it's just that it's competing against some very good options.
Yeah, I mean, are you taking a support slot for a pinning gun? No, probably. Just like 6 dice pinning? Probably not. And are you taking the melee version? No, because you've got other things that can slap harder melee that don't require the same unlocks. So, but, it is fine. It's just competing with things you probably want to take instead. But if you've got a Strider, it is a great model. Feel free to take it. You're not going to let yourself down too much. It will be fine. It's just, I don't think it's the most optimal choice, but it's still fine.
All right, now we get to roll on to something unique to the Enforcers, the Accuser Interceptor, which comes with a whole mess of variants. So I'll just do the base bits first. It's speed 12-18 with shoot 4, armor 6 and 6 hit points, nerve 3 and height 6 because it's a flyer and a unit strength of 0. As with all Enforcers, it comes with advanced training, capacity 6, now with alignment protocol, so you can fit slightly more into it. It's a flyer and vehicle, and its options. It comes with dual heavy burst lasers standard, and that is the Accuser Interceptor. You can instead make it an Arbiter Interceptor, which is dual Accuser Polaris cannons, which instead are range 24, 4D, AP4, anti-tank, should be devastating D2. There is an error in the companion. Devastating D2 on its dual Accuser Polaris cannons. You can instead make it an Adjudicator Interceptor, which have dual fusion cannons, which are range 24, 4D, AP2, blast D2. I've never actually seen the Adjudicator taken. Any of those can opt to sacrifice their transport capacity to take missile pods, drops to capacity 0, but you gain a range 18, 1D AP1, blast D4 weapon. You can also choose to sacrifice your transport capacity to give yourself an advanced sensor array, which gives you a black command die, and also the rule for advanced sensors, which is after deployment, but before any scout moves, the player may redeploy D2+1 units. There is a lot going on for the Accuser Interceptor because it is a signature unit of the Enforcers. What do we think of the Accuser?
Well, I hate getting it pinned, as we've been through, which is why I usually don't take it. Maybe I'll consider a jet bike captain instead, and then be able to take this guy, because I do like it. I think the missile pods are a trap, because for the 1 die, you're not getting enough to lose the capacity or lose the opportunity cost of the advanced sensor array. So if I want to put someone in it, I can't take the missile pods because you lose the capacity, so you just don't do it. If I'm happy to lose the capacity, then I'm going to pay 5 or 10 points more for the sensor array, because an extra black die in something without many commanders is really good, and the redeploy is fantastic. Like, it's really cool.
Particularly when you don't have that many units, but you could be redeploying a third of your army.
Yeah, and you're probably losing the recon roll. you don't have many commanders, right? So it does help.
40 points. It's a huge whack to get to lose your capacity.
The advanced sensor array is 20 points.
Just another 20 points on top of the 20 for the...
For making it an arbiter.
Arbiter, because you're going to make it an arbiter.
Yeah, 20, no, so it's 20 points to me, losing the capacity, just get the redeploy and the black dice.
I usually wouldn't, because I want the capacity, because I want to use it to get a unit up the field, but I want to hide it as well because it gets pinned so easily. So maybe the capacity is not what I think the advanced sense. The point was more, if you're happy to lose
capacity, you're not losing it for the missiles.
You're not doing it for the missile launcher. Don't do it. Go up to the sensor array instead.
I do use them, but mainly because I do own 2. So I do use them because of that. And I actually don't have any Nova Shocks, which I should probably do. But again, when you see my list, it basically explains why. I like the mobility. Irks me no end that a Hornet these days has got better armour on it, and it's headstrong too. I was like, hang on, I thought the Enforcers were the elite guys and got all the cool stuff, but apparently not. I know I've made the case to my friends here in Brisbane, but it said in the cool novel First Strike, it demonstrates that the planes actually are stealthy. So it would be great to see that and hopefully added in future to make them a little bit more viable, because if they, as I said, if they get pinned, they're just zooming around the board, and that's basically all they're doing. So
the Polaris cannon is only 24 inches as well. It's not like an obnoxious amount of range. And given that it's meant to be D2 instead of 2 as well, it's not that gross. I would actually have no problem if this just had headstrong native for the price that it is already.
And would you ever run the dual heavy burst lasers? I mean, it is 8D AP1. That's really not nothing.
No, it's not nothing. But if I'm going for a pinning weapon, I don't need that many dice to pin. No,
I just mean like 8D AP1.
Yeah, yes. So I haven't actually done that yet, because normally I'm kind of, by the time I get to this end of the list, I'm looking for more anti-tank, and that's why it fits in there. But I have played against people who use that variant.
If using it as a transport, it's a lot more enticing to run that, because you can do the whole, move forward and pin stuff and then drop a unit out, and the unit's not going to charge anything like it would out of a mule, but it's more about protecting the unit you're dropping from things around it. So the pinning can work into that a bit better.
But Assault and Forces got better, even the breach and eradicators, to jump in there with something like that. You jump out, pin something, hopefully slaughter it, away you go.
And the Adjudicator?
Yeah, I'm not sure about that one. I'm not sure what it's trying to do differently that I need to achieve with that.
Yeah, no, the Adjudicator is just not worth it.
I mean, it is what the old Marauder missile teams were with 4D AP2 Blast D2. It was, and these are shoot 4.
In a specialist slot for more points, I think, on a chassis that's going to be seen from everywhere and pinned.
And only at 24 inches.
And only at 24 inches.
I'm just caught up because I've never actually seen the Adjudicator played. I don't know if it's just because if it's not a standard model.
It's also only as many dice as half of the old Marauder weapon team, because they were 4 dice D2 last.
Yeah, I meant it's a single team. I don't mean the full squad.
Yeah, which you would always... Yeah, I mean, you have the full squad. Like,
sure.
So no, it's a very expensive version of that, to be quite honest.
All right. So our other flying unit is the Persecutor Bomber. It has the same stats as the Accuser Interceptor. Instead, it has a different weapon loadout. It has Bunker Buster Bombs, which are 18-inch range, 2D, Armor Piercing 5, Anti-Tank Devastating 2, as well as Anti-Personnel Bombs, range 18, 4D, AP1, Blast D2, and Pinning. It has targeting systems, so it is able to land bunker buster bombs on a tank and anti-personnel bombs on an infantry unit at the same time. You may also still pay an extra 10 points to give it persecutor missile pods, not having to sacrifice any transport capacity. I imagine you're probably paying the 10 points this time.
Yeah, this time it's with targeting systems, it's worth it this time. And it's the same range as everything else, so you're not losing out if you're going to be in 18 inches or you're not. So, yeah, I think it's worth it there.
And are you running a persecutor?
I used to, particularly before Command Protocols, when they were really good.
They had an enormous range then, or something.
They had 24 inches, I think it was, and then I think they were thinking about putting them down to 12 inches, and that was too low, so I took a half a medium at 18. I haven't run one of these in a very, very long time. I think if it was still 24 inches, I'd consider it. Even like the missile pods, why are they only 18 inches? Like, at least make the missile pods 24 or something. Doesn't make sense. But I just think the range is a bit too low for me. But, it still puts out hurt, still fine.
With its 12-inch speed and its 18-inch move, it's still a 30-inch threat.
Yeah, but then it's out in the open, which is bad times for it.
I mean, what was the range of it before?
It was 24 inches.
It was 24 inches?
And you could use go on it. So.
Yeah, using go on it, using Firestorm on it, that's kind of where... And look, it was abusive back then. I know absolutely. You were going like, it was great, amazing. No, it was abusive.
It was better than amazing. It was abusive. Okay, is that our tier list?
Yes. Well, you call amazing, everybody else goes, you can't do that. But then again, we discussed at the beginning about
sociopathic tendencies. That's right.
Yes, I do keep putting it in occasionally, but then I decide I need the transport capacity, so I'll swap it to the Arbiter. That's kind of it. I haven't really used it that way around. If I decide to foot slog, I probably would.
It's worth noting it's AP5, devastating 2 anti-tank on this gun. So it's gonna, and it can benefit from Firestorm. It does put in work.
It just has to be a bit closer than it was before.
And you probably want to you probably want to run a jet bike just in case. But if you benefit from the Headstrong, you can't then benefit from Firestorm. But just in case, maybe it's worthwhile running him if you've got a jet bike lieutenant.
Mm. Is it worth doing a first act strategy with this, where you activate it late in a round, where it's outside of range, just sort of swoop in, unleash its payload? It may end up getting pinned at the end of that activation, but it'll have been able to dodge most of the incoming shots coming at it. You can then shed the pin with your command dice in the end phase, and then as enforcers, you're almost always going to get first activation in the next round, shoot, and then fly back out of range. And so it's continually jinking in and out, dropping its payload, and just having to make the enemy work for it, because it's always acting last in a round to close or first in a round to get out of dodge.
That is exactly how you play them, and that's one of the things that was abusive when you could go it, because they're sitting there waiting with their...
Because they're doing both in one turn.
They're sitting there waiting for their anti-air guns for him to pop out so that they can shoot it finally, and you go, pop out, shoot, and run away, and they're like, oh. I think that's exactly how you do want to run it. You want to keep it hidden, which is very hard to do, to be able to then go forward, shoot stuff, and then go first, shoot some more stuff. You can probably kill units very easily by doing that and then run away. Absolutely.
Probably more than any other unit type, flyers are really dependent on terrain. You need to have high terrain on the table to make them useful, because otherwise they're just too easy to nullify. I guess you have to look at what kind of terrain you have on your tables when you're thinking about taking them to.
All right, our next support pick is the Demantor Sniper Platform. So this is only speed 6-9. It's a little slower than your other units. Aside from that, it is a +1 hit point Enforcer Operative. It's a same stat block, but with hit points 3. It is on a 60 mil base with advanced training, anti-grav, bulky, and construct. Construct, quite tasty. The major reason for you taking this at 120 points, it has a Polaris railgun, a 48-inch range, 2D, armor-piercing 5, anti-tank, devastating D2+1 with marksman. So that is effectively it is a +1 armor-piercing version of what the Assassin carries, admittedly on a markedly more fragile and slower platform.
Yeah, I like everything about this unit except its hit points. That's the thing that always turns me away in the end. I'm like, yeah, 2 dice. You know, when there's given how many other great anti-tank options you have in this list, to then take something as brittle as this, I find very hard to justify. Even though you can, you know, park him in a back corner and sort of pew-pew all day long, particularly if you park him behind your Peacekeeper captain. You know, that's a good strategy if you're going to do it. Put him like in the center of the board behind your Peacekeeper captain and sit there and pew-pew all day. But
Why behind the captain?
Firestorm.
Yeah, okay. I think you were saying behind for height reasons.
No, because way to fire 1 on 2 dice is very good. Because
Yes.
that makes they're probably going to hit, and then vicious on your AP 5 is great, and they got marksman as well, right? So you roll a 1 and a 2, so they both get re-rolled.
Yes.
But you really want the way to fire to re-roll the 2s and 3s because there's going to be one in every 4 shots is going to be a 2 or a 3. So
Cannot justify it at 120 points. Not a chance. You know, I got better things to use go on. Like as far as the orders are concerned, 3 wounds. I don't even use the Forge Father version of it, which for some reason got nerfed from 48 to 36, and I'll never know a reason for that happening either, and I'm not going to use it here.
I mean, this is one where you're hoping you'll never need to use those 3 hit points, and you need to use your 48-inch range so that you are never shot, and that the enemy always has something more important to shoot than your one piece who is reaching out across the entire length of the board to nail vehicles. It is worth pointing out it has gotten better in alignment protocols because before it had slow reload as well. And of course, all slow reload stuff got better, but this one lost it entirely. So you can now slide 6 inches and shoot that 48 inches in order to give yourself a clear shot or to target something which you wouldn't otherwise be able to. It is expensive, but I mean, people play the Assassin, and this has slightly better output than the Assassin, but
it doesn't have the shields of the
it
assassin.
it doesn't have shields and it doesn't have stealthy.
The thing is,
an Assassin's only 15 points more expensive.
what you got to worry about is like your long-range anti-tank that wants to sit up the back and shoot. It has to contend with having to face off against the long-range anti-tank shooting from the other team, and the assassin, it's never winning against the assassin, and the Wolverine, it's probably not winning against either.
I mean, I think it does suffer a little from it doesn't want to get into a kicking contest with anyone because it can't receive the return kicks, unlike one of the other units we'll be looking at in a moment, which are entirely there as pugilists.
Yeah, the thing is that it's 120 points for a bait, realistically, where you're hoping that something's like Wolverine is going to shoot it instead of something else more important in your list, but 120 points makes it too expensive to be thinking about using it in that role.
It won't be able to duel the Wolverine, but I think if you're facing things like Plague Lords and Aberrations and so on, but again, we'll scroll on down to something we may be wanting to put up instead.
Are you talking about the Ajax Strider?
The Ajax Strider!
You were not talking about the Ajax Strider.
So again, just as the Strider is a better version of the one we see in other factions, the Ajax Strider is as well. Shoot 4 and assault 4, which is actually pretty good on the Ajax Strider because you do want to both shoot and assault with it. It has the same Grav Ram Spear, 2D AP2 Blast D4 at 12-inch range, and 60 AP2, but both of these now with the improved shoot and assault. It's the same Armor 8, defensible. The Ajax Strider. Taking it?
Nope.
No.
Control fire's nice. Defensible's like with defensible. That's nice.
It's not horrible, great model, but again, for me, I'm looking at the planes or peacekeepers.
His Grav Ram Spear doesn't do enough, and his Ajax assault weaponry doesn't have anti-tank or anything like that you would generally want on a unit like this that melees.
Yeah, I am surprised by the lack of anti-tank on it because it is a Siege Strider. I would expect it to be able to bust in. But I will say the 2D AP2 Blast D4, that's exactly what a missile launcher was, except admittedly at 12-inch range before the alignment protocol changes that slim down the output of missile launchers.
Yeah, I mean, he's just expensive in a contentious slot that doesn't deal out enough hurt for what he does. Like, I just don't think the weapons are quite where they need to be. Controlled fire is great, but he's only doing like maybe 2.5 because it's going to be on 5s with controlled fire because you get the -1. So you're hitting with one of your 2. Blast D4 is going to average you 2.5 hits at AP2. I just don't think it's scary enough to like push forward and say, come at me, because people will probably still just come at it.
Yeah, I mean, it'll do a little bit of extra chip damage on the way in, which counts towards combat, and then hopefully you can do a bit more with its spear. I think people are probably unlikely to want to charge it anyway, unless they think they're going to be able to take it out.
Yeah.
The unit that we have been building up to, the one we've continually referenced, and the one we've said, this is what you're spending your slots on, it is the Mark IV Nova Shock Peacekeepers. So these are slower at only speed 510. They are armor 8, just like Peacekeeper Defenders, but jump to 3 hit points instead of 2, so are no longer as vulnerable to Devastating 2. They keep Resilient 1, just like regular Peacekeepers. They gain Bulky and lose Anti-Grav, thankfully, and keep Controlled Fire. They come in 2 flavors, Heavy Fusion Gun, which is range 24, 3 dice, armor piercing 2, blast D2, or the Heavy Thermal Rifle, range 24, 2D, armor piercing 4, anti-tank devastating 2 for plus 10 points. Are these guys any good?
Terrible. Don't take him. Don't take him against me. So 135 points for you're never paying that, because I think you're either going to be paying 155 for 2 with the heavy thermal rifles, or if you're going to run the fusion guns, I think you're probably generally going to be running more bodies than just the 2. So they are a pretty expensive unit. I personally wouldn't want to run the fusion guns. I think they're good. Like, it's a good gun. It's just that I need armor piercing deletiness of the heavy thermal rifle, which is a shame. Like, you just don't have the unlocks to go, you know what, I'll run 1 or 2 heavy thermal rifles and then I'll run one with the fusion gun. But, you know, you're never going to get the unlocks to be able to spend on that. So for me, it's always 1 or 2 with the heavy thermal rifles.
And there's no targeting system, so you can't do both in the one slot.
You definitely, that's a shame, actually. Maybe that should be considered, so you could take 1 or 2 and...
You want to buff the unit further?
Well, but to make that work, you either got one guy shooting there with one thing and another guy shooting there with... And they're not dishing out that many dice, so it's not that obnoxious. Or you're making a massive unit of them, in which case you've got a lot of eggs in one basket, and that's its own kind of tax.
I don't care for the idea of targeting systems and going, let me pin a vehicle there and one over here as well.
Oh, no, I would, that's a good point. You kind of want targeting systems per weapon type would be interesting to explore, but that's fair. Take a unit of 4 of them with targeting systems. Just delete two vehicles. That'd be great. Yeah, let's do that.
Mike, what are your thoughts on this unit?
Oh, I'm just thinking that Luke's lost it. I'm sitting here with my eyebrows raised and just going, targeting systems, what a good idea on this unit. Yeah. Look, I don't own them, but doesn't mean I wouldn't want to buy them and take them. I've been against them. They're a really good unit. Some people tend to overestimate their capabilities, so you do need to be a little bit careful with them. Maybe I just fought them with Forge Fathers, and I have removed the unit relatively fine in the past, but they are a serious pain in the backside, and if you want to do a foot slogging version of the Enforcer list, then it's the perfect backup for it.
Yeah, and maybe Forge Fathers are well placed because they've got decent armor piercing on even their regular guns, but for when I was shooting at them with Asterians, and I think probably when I'm going after them with Plague, unless I'm hitting them with a big beast, that armor 8 resilient 1 is just so difficult to crack, and 3 hit points each means that each one is very difficult to take down. And 3 hit points is such an annoying number because devastating 2 weapons, you're always thinking like, okay, do I need to optimize this by first of all doing 1 chip wound so I can then hit with a true devastating 1, and then the second one, if I can slip it through, well then, and it never works out, but it's just always a pain to take them out, particularly just because they also output so much as well. They're not just an anvil unit, they are a true pugilist unit where they are taking blows and then doing KOs back to you harder. They are just so good.
Yeah, they're not... they don't have a very good assault, it's just plain 2 dice, but on 4s, which is fine. But they do have controlled fire, right? So
yes.
you charge them and they just like wipe you off before they get a chance to attack, which is kind of cool. They do lose anti-grav as well. As an Enforcer player, you get used to playing around with your units with the understanding that they have anti-grav. And in particular for these guys, you don't care about charging everything because you're never going to charge them in combat. But the number of times I move my guys onto the roof of a building because it's free to go up that first story to get a really good angle to shoot things, over other terrain and stuff, no problem. They can't quite do that because they're 5 inches move and they don't have anti-grav. So that's probably a good thing because they would be a lot more obnoxious if it was easy to get them on top of buildings, but that's worth remembering.
And that brings us to the end of the Enforcer list. Shall we run through our own lists?
So my list I've called Blitzkrieg because that's what it does. We went through a more normal list that I would play last time. Sorry.
A more normal list for Luke.
Yeah, for me. That I played down at Clash of Protocols. This is, you'll see a lot of similarities if you remember that episode in this list, but I just dialed a couple of things up a bit to get the true Blitzkrieg. Good. But interestingly, there's always trade-offs, right? So I wanted to maintain the 12 drop nature. So there is a few sort of MSU units in here to make that happen, but it is a true Blitzkrieg list. So we've got the Enforcer Captain with a Defender buddy. So I've spoken about why that's good. We have an Enforcer Captain with 1 Peacekeeper buddy. He's pivotal to the list for the Blitzkrieging. Then we have 3 units of Engineers, and one of them has 1 Sentry Gun, and the other 2 are just 3-man units of Engineers. Why? Because I wanted 12 drops, and that's what you got to do to get 12 drops, considering the other things that I'm taking in this list. And also, like I said, they could just run forward and claim an objective, sit on a backfield objective, no problem. You've got lots of options, and there's still 6 dice, 6 wounds when they shoot, even without the Sentry Gun. So, great unit. Then we've got 3 units of 4 operatives. All of them have 2 HMX missile launchers in them, for a total of 6 HMX missile launchers in the list. We have a unit of just standard 4 operatives. Again, just a cheap unit, but I had the extra points over an engineer team and needed the unlock, so that unit of 4 operatives. Then we have a unit of 6 jet bikes, because 18 dice is fantastic. Then 2 units of no shot peacekeepers, both with 2 heavy thermal rifles in them. And that's the list. 12 drops. It's got 1 orange, 1 green command die, and its average shoot AP is 1.17, which is pretty disgusting.
So I call my list Finders Keepers. It's realistically about trying to move up, get those objectives, and then get you to try to move me off those objectives. So what we keep going through. As I've mentioned before, it's quite a mobile list. So I do have the jet bike lieutenant with 2 buddies to go through there, and I also use the peacekeeper captain, but I have 2 friends with him to try to keep him alive as he's going through. I have a unit of Pathfinders with the leader upgrade to give him a tag rifle. He's also got one of them's got the sniper rifle, and I have the DOG dog drone, mainly because I love the model, but also it also adds firepower to that unit and some pinning weaponry in there. Then I have 2 units of the Enforcer operatives with 2 missile launchers in each, so I have with an extra guy in each to take it to a unit of 5. So units of 5. I know that's an odd number, but it is 10 wounds. And I find that the 10 wounds does what I need to do in my Night Stalkers, so I'm willing to go with that. Then I have a unit of my Enforcer Defenders, which is the full 5 models there, which I mentioned is going to be in one of the airfighters that I'll go to eventually in the list, so jumping onto an objective and dare you to try to move me off that objective. I have a unit of peacekeepers with 4 models in it, just to be, that's one thing to be sitting there marching up the board. I have a unit of 3 peacekeeper defenders, which is going to go into my second arbiter to do the same thing as the other squad, to fly up and move on to the objective. So yes, I have 2 arbiters with the Polaris cannons to work for my anti-tank. In there with my 2 defensible units to jump on the objectives, and I have the 2 scout units, which are the jet bikes and the Pathfinders, if necessary, to keep the mobility to get where I need to be, depending upon the various objectives, particularly in the tournament plays, so I can use them in different fashions and get where I want them to be. And the rest of it's just almost static firepower sitting in the middle to back up what I jump on objectives.
I don't play Enforcers, so I've done something very different. My list is called What a Shocker! So you can probably guess what's in the tail of it. So my main commander is a forward observer with 2 Pathfinder friends, a jet bike lieutenant as his offsider. I have 2 units of Pathfinders, each with a sniper rifle and dog drone burst laser. I have 2 squads of operatives, no special weapons. Each of them has a medic in there. They are purely there as Armor 6 Resilient 1 bodies that I can put orders on if I have to. A unit of 3 Enforcer drones. A Pathfinder C3M4 combat drone. No upgrades, it's just a tag cannon, tag rifle, and tag sensor array. Noting I've already got 3 units with the tags. That's the 2 Pathfinder units and the forward observer. A unit of Peacekeeper Defenders with a burst laser in there. A unit of 4 of those. And then 2 units of 3 Nova Shocks. 3 with heavy fusion gun and 3 with heavy thermal rifle. The thinking behind this list is it leans very heavily into the forward observer's first strike order, because the forward observer can move somewhere and then drop his order, which is a 12-inch bubble, so not small, that'll cover a good amount of the table, and then all the things in my deployment zone can steady aim with an extra 6 inches, meaning my Nova Shocks in my deployment zone shoot you in yours. All the Pathfinders shoot up to 30-inch range. It is very much intended to keep you at arm's length if I stand still in order to remove shooting mods, while my Enforcer operatives and drones move forward with resilience and just hiding in order to claim objectives. Different stuff.
So remember, if you can like or subscribe or whatever your platform of choice allows you to do, and leave us a review if you're so inclined. That really does help us get the word out and keep the listenership high and Firefight in the spotlight. So please get out and do that if you are so inclined. And that brings us to a close on this episode. We hope you have enjoyed the Enforcer review. So until next time, gather up your psychopath buddies, dominate your opponent, and unleash controlled fire.
Hear the tales, fierce and deep. Victors roar, defeated. We blaze away, we don't hold back. Control fire, ready to attack.